Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. Coming up on this edition of the State of the Saints podcast, we have to discuss wide receiver Bub Means, and unfortunately, him being lost for the entire 2025 season. But the Saints also added a few more players to their roster. And also, since you don't see a green screen behind me, I guess you already know where I'm at.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who that?
Good morning, Who Dat Nation. It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I really do appreciate your time. Much love to each and every one of you. I know this is uncharted territory. At least it has been over the last couple of weeks, but got some things that I need to do later on this evening. So just thought that I push up this show. I know that the Saints are going to have a joint practice with the Rams. I'll probably put out a pre-recorded video later on this evening about that. But thank you so much for tuning in, making the State of the Saints podcast a part of your day. Shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody at home, at work, wherever you are, wherever you may be. We're going to be talking about the Saints wide receiver room and wide receiver Bub Means. Bub Means, according to reports, will miss the entire 2025 season, dealing with an ankle injury. It's extremely unfortunate for the young player. He's going into his second year, and you had Saints fans that were anticipating him being a part of this offense. Bub Means, the taller of the group. He's about 6'4", about 220 pounds. And I think Saints fans were looking at him to fill that void, to be that big body receiver that the New Orleans Saints need. But now, since he's no longer a part of the equation, you have some other players on the team that are going to have to step up in that role, rather it's the tight ends, or maybe the New Orleans Saints will go out and try to sign someone that can fill that role. But regardless, it's a crushing blow for the kid. It's so rough, man, because I was actually creating a thumbnail, for the show, and I was looking for, pictures of Bub Means to try to, put into the graphic. And, every picture, for the most part, that Bub Means has, he's smiling, man, because, you can tell like he's excited to be an NFL player. He's excited about, the way that the season was going to unfold. At least he thought before this happened. And, you listen to him speak to the media. He's always excited. He always has this buoyant demeanor about him. I just feel bad for the guy. I feel bad. You never want to see players go down, right? I mean, you want to see these players go out here and create their own narratives. But unfortunately for Bub Means, he's going to have to wait for another year to do that. But I think he'll have a speedy recovery and he can get back to the field. So where does that leave the New Orleans Saints at the wide receiver position? Well, Who Dat Nation, I've looked at, social media, and I've seen some feelings and views from the Who Dat Nation as to what the New Orleans Saints need to do when it comes to replacing Bub Means. Some looked at wide receivers, maybe like Gabe Davis, who is still out there, kind of fits that mold. And also Odell Beckham Jr., who some Saints fans feel the Saints need to sign. He came out and announced that he was not retiring, even though reports indicated that it was starting to trend that way. Now he's in the running for, possibly signing with the New Orleans Saints. Well, at least according to some fans. Look, I'm going to say this when it comes to the New Orleans Saints and their decision making as of late. I don't have an issue with the New Orleans Saints not going out here being ultra aggressive when it comes to signing players. I just think that some Saints fans need to pause and realize what the heck they've been saying for I don't know how long. And I'm starting to get under the impression that some Saints fans just talk just to talk, because some of them don't even remember the things that they say. At least I hope it's that way, because when I listen to it or I read it, it just seems like it's a complete contradiction of what they actually been asking for. From the whole rebuild, from the Saints need to get younger, et cetera, et cetera. I don't understand how any Saints fan could say, oh, well, we want the team to get younger, we need to rebuild, and then turn around and say the Saints need to go after Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. is about 31, 32 years old. And, you already was criticizing and complaining about Brandon Cooks being signed to the New Orleans Saints and him being in his 30s. I don't have an issue with the New Orleans Saints not going out here and getting guys like Amari Cooper and Odell Beckham Jr. because they're not going to solve the long-term issue at the wide receiver position. Everybody's trying to look for a quick fix. And you just need to realize that this is not a quick fix for the New Orleans Saints. It is going to take some time in order for the New Orleans Saints to rebuild this thing back up. But you also have to have a little bit of patience, which some of you don't have. So I'm actually just telling you something that is basically just a waste of time in some cases. But at the end of the day, for those that could practice patience, I'm just asking you to do so. And if you're going to go out and sign a wide receiver, I would prefer for them to sign somebody that's young, like a Gabe Davis, or like, the wide receiver that they got out of SMU, which is Roderick Daniels Jr. Okay, he's not the tallest. Of course, he's not going to fill that void that Bub Means left, because he's 5'9", 186 pounds. But his collegiate career was pretty impressive. I mean, in 52 games, he started in 12. He had 105 receptions, 1,485 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns, and he rushed the ball 75 times for 285 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. 56 returns for 592 yards and 2 touchdowns. In his senior year, he had 42 catches, 663 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, plus 160 rushing yards. So this is a guy that, he's not going to fill the Bub Means role, but maybe he'll be somebody that can come in that can compete for a special team spot, or maybe the Saints will probably utilize him returning kicks in preseason game number 2 to try to save some of these, maybe these starters or the guys that's going to be a part of the 53. I just think that the Saints just need to get younger. You need to find ways to try to make this team, young and, try to rebuild from there. Now, I just think that, going out getting a 31, 32-year-old wide receiver is just not the answer. And, I think that it has a lot to do with nostalgia. And you have to be careful that you don't fall into that trap. People fall in love with the possibilities of something happening, not even it being a really good idea. It just sounds like a good idea, or it just sounds good, to say that Odell Beckham Jr. plays for the Saints. But Saints fans just need to get past that. You just need to get past the imagery of a team. The thought of, this is going to happen, this is going to be great. Man, get past that. I don't need no nostalgia acts. I don't need LSU just because they got LSU ties. Let's sign them. They from Louisiana, let's sign them. Can they bring something to the team that can contribute to long-term success? Because right now the Saints are trying to turn the page. New head coach, new quarterbacks, and new idealisms. So if you're not trying to fall into that category, then I just feel like you're not trending in the right direction. You're not really doing or saying things that are beneficial to this team. You just basically just trying to throw something against the wall and hoping that it stick. I like the way that the Saints been moving as of late. I know some people want me to jump down the team's throat, but I'm not jumping down the team's throat if they're doing things that we have been asking them to do for years. Doesn't make any sense. If they're trying to do the things that fans have been asking for, individuals been asking for, why are you sitting up here complaining and whining and can't even take the time to see it through is mind-boggling to me, folks. Okay, but at the end of the day, Bub Means being lost for the season. I think that the New Orleans Saints, if they were to sign somebody, let's try to, see if they can actually get somebody younger in here that can fill that void. But I do think that they need to get that, in some way, whether it's from somebody that's already on a roster or someone on the street. Because I know that everybody's starting to lean towards Juwan Johnson, maybe filling that role. But, I like Juwan Johnson a lot, but it's one of those situations where you're hoping that the light turns on, and it has not necessarily turned on. Like, yes, he had more receptions and he had more yards than I think he had an entire season last year, or his entire career rather. But at the end of the day, it's like you're hoping that it works out. I just think that the Saints need to go and try to find themselves a backup plan just in case the Juwan Johnson experience doesn't work out. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we'll go from there. And we'll start with Derek. Derek says, Bub put in that work in the offseason. I was looking forward to him balling out, praying for the kid. Yeah, I mean, he put in the work, and I think the Saints liked him a lot, Derek. The fact that they didn't go out and try to just aggressively sign somebody, it just seemed like they were willing to give him an opportunity to be the guy that they needed him to be for the team. And, it's unfortunate that it's not going to work out this season. I'm going to keep my ears open about that wide receiver, defensive back matchup in joint practice. Yeah, I mean, look, I think these practice reps between the Rams and the Saints are going to be even more important than the reps for the Saints versus the Jaguars. And, I think it's important because, the Rams are one of the best teams in football. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. And, they are a measuring stick, right? By going out there, having a really good practice versus the Rams, it will tell you where you are as a team. It's a really good litmus test for the Saints. So I think they need to take advantage of these reps that they're going to get in this joint practice and see where it goes. Hope these wide receivers can learn something from Puka and Devontae. Well, the Saints have some talented receivers, man. It's not a matter of them not having the talent. It's a matter of them staying healthy and being on the field for the team. Like, we know Chris Olave is talented, Rashid Shaheed is talented, Brandon Cooks is talented. Those are your top three receivers. We know if they are playing, the Saints have a better chance of winning. It has nothing to do with their talent. It has everything to do with them being able to be available for the football team. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are very talented. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, the Saints don't have slouches in the wide receiver room. It's just the fact that these guys haven't been healthy. That's the issue. They don't know the word patience, as stated earlier. Well, I just think that people feel like everything is an easy fix, and it's not. It's not going to be an easy fix. I think you'll probably see some improvements on, certain sides of the football or even from certain players. But I just think that Saints fans, they want, well, not every Saints fan, but you have some Saints fans that want instant gratification. And I just don't think that this is going to be one of those situations where you're just going to see everything that you want right away. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, man. But as long as they're trending in the right direction and you're seeing progress, I think that you'll be fine. That's crazy and awful, unfortunate news for Bub Means. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It really is, man. But let's go ahead and take a look at we'll stop right here. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the guys that the Saints have added to the team. I apologize if I mispronounced this offensive lineman's name, Mike I guess that's Pasuik. I know it's a Polish name, man. And I tried to get it right before I got on here. But anyway, he's a guard and and a center. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He's from Michigan State. He signed with the Saints. He was with the USFL, the St. Louis Battlehawks, where he was a 3-year starter and earned all UFL and XFL honors each year. This guy, he seemed like he's going to be a fun player, man. I'm not sure if he's going to make the team or anything like that. But, I was looking at a few of his clips before I was doing this show here just to get a little background and a little bit of his personality. He seems like a fun guy. It seems like, he's a guy that's going to give his all. But I don't expect, for him to make the team. I think this is more so of a depth piece, losing a guy like Trevor Penning. Not going to be a part of the fold, bringing somebody else in that can be a camp body for you. If he goes out there and he plays well, it's a good decision or a good problem to have, to think about this guy possibly joining your team. You also have Jaden Peavy. He's a defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 308 pounds. He came from Texas A&M, and he played in 6 games in his NFL career. He has 2 solo tackles, 4 assisted tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and a forced fumble. All right. So he joins the team, as well as who I mentioned earlier, Roderick Daniels, the wide receiver out of SMU. And they also bring back Seth Green, the tight end that they recently released a couple of weeks ago. They bring him back to the fold as well. So those are your guys that you added to your team after tryouts. So I'm not sure if any one of those gentlemen are going to make the team. More so camp bodies because of the players that you lost. Just want to add some depth to be able to, not put so much wear and tear on other guys. So this is a great opportunity for these players to come in, make some noise, maybe put something on tape. And if you can't make the Saints team, you can possibly make another team as well. This is only the foundation. Love the changes that teams have made starting from the top. Yeah. I just think that you have to change the way that you're thinking. I think that Saints fans still got that mind frame like, oh, man, the bottom is going to fall out. Oh, man, it's the same old thing. And I'm like, things are moving around you, right? And you can't just close your eyes and cover your ears and be like, okay, things are the same. And change is all around you. Like you see that they're trying to do things differently. You see that they're trying to get back into cap compliance. They're under the cap right now. They didn't go out and aggressively try to exhaust the money. They're trying to play it safe. And I just think that things have been kind of stale for so long. Saints fans kind of just starting to fall in line like, okay, this is the same old, and change is around you. And I just don't agree with some of the thinking that some of these Saints fans have. I just don't. Like, some of the narratives that I'm hearing are based on what this team was, a few years ago, or with Dennis Allen. Like, you don't know what Kellen Moore is going to be as a head coach. You don't know what these players are going to do. You don't know who is going to improve or who the Saints added to this team that can make this team better. But it seems like everybody, well, I keep saying everybody, but you have a good sample size of Saints fans that just fell into this narrative like things aren't going to work, and they sticking with it. And no matter what type of optimism comes from airline or what we actually see or witness, is like, oh, well, let's just focus on the bad parts. Let's just focus on like how this did not work, and it's just an indicator of how the season is going to look. Like, you don't know what the season is going to look like. I'm all for having conversations when things are going awry, but I'm not just going to focus on just the negative aspects to try to validate a point and not look at the good things that are possibly happen or the potential of something good happening. I just think that that's just a bad attitude or a bad disposition to have. Like, you want to chew out a team and games haven't even been played yet. You want to criticize a quarterback that hasn't played a regular season game yet. You want to size up a quarterback who hasn't even started an NFL game yet. And I guess you want to be ahead of the curve or something. Like it's, I don't understand it. TJ, the Saints signed Donovan Peoples-Jones. Don't sleep on him. He could take Bub Means' spot for now. What do you think? Well, I think that the fact that I haven't heard Donovan Peoples-Jones' name very often, rather it be from the media that's out there in California and has been, on airline, I think that, that's very alarming. But, I agree. Maybe since Bub Means is no longer part of the equation, that opens up an opportunity for guys that probably had limited reps to get more reps. So I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think that he's talented, but I haven't heard his name very much. We probably would be in a better situation right now if we had started rebuilding a few years ago. I mean, I'm pretty sure you would have, Brandon, and I agree with that. I think that the Saints try to keep that window open as much as they possibly can, but it just had too many factors that were surrounding, this team when it comes to not being able to, keep that window open, right? I mean, if you remember growing up, some of you, you used to have that window and then you used to open it up and then they'll slam down real quick. So you'll put a piece of wood, in the window to prop it up so the window won't fall down. That's what Derek Carr was to me. Derek Carr was that piece of wood that you tried to hold up, but the wood wasn't sturdy enough. And the next thing you know, you just heard, because the window just came down on it, right? And just broke the wood in half. Like, I think that they should have rebuilt years ago. I just think that this team had a very tough time at looking at itself in the mirror and realizing who and what it was, right? I mean, I always refer to the team as like how Jack Black was in Shallow Hal, right? If you ever seen the movie Shallow Hal, he was hypnotized by Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, and he was only able to see the inner beauty of everybody, right? He didn't see the world the way that other people saw it, right? If he was looking at a woman, the world will look at her one way, he'll see it another way. I think the Saints will have their own little Shallow Hal thing going, like looking at themselves as being a potential contender, but everybody knew that this team needed some work. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter what I'm trying to say is it matters, that they decided to figure this thing out. It doesn't matter how they figured it out. The fact is that they did figure it out. It's more so like, the inevitability kind of slapped them in the face. Like the reality of, oh man, like you have to rebuild. Like it basically happened and slapped them in the face, even though they were trying to avoid it at all costs. But yeah, it probably would have been a completely different story if, it would have been a completely different story if they did it years ago. But I just think they had a false sense of reality of who the team was, and I just think that they kind of wasted a few years. If they would have just came to grips with who they were and what they were, I think they would have been better off. I think Kevin Austin Jr. wants the open wide receiver spot. He's becoming more reliable. I think the Saints are starting to rely on him. Like if you look at the game and preseason week 1, I've seen Kevin Austin quite often out there. So, and we know, man, he's capable of making at least a play or two each game. So maybe he'll be a part of that depth chart. It seems like, the Saints like him too. I mean, I've seen him quite a bit in the first game. So maybe he's that guy. I'm tired of hearing some fans talk about tanking for Arch. Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't want to see the Saints tank. I don't want to see them tank. I want to see them play the best they possibly can. Now, if you play hard and you're just not good enough, I mean, that's understandable, right? It's understandable. It just means that, you don't have, the enough talent at this point to be able to get over that hump. But if you're seeing like promise and you're seeing, things trending in the right direction, I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to see the Saints lose. Now, if they just, they're just an insurmountable climb and, things don't work out, and if it happens that way, then it happens. You shouldn't go into the season talking about let's tank. This dude is the Saints BS. I bet he brings Mickey Loomis his Uber Eats. This dude is of the Saints BS. I don't even know what you're trying to say. I don't know if that's for me or somebody else. I don't even know what I don't know if that was me or somebody else. But I don't know. I don't even know what the hell that was. I'm going to the Saints Bronco game next Saturday. That's good, Jerry. Hope you have a good time, man. I hope you have a good time. TJ, bro, old enough to remember window wood in the window. Facts. Man, look, I'm 39 years old. I don't know if people don't know that or not. I'm 39, man. I've been around for a minute. But yes, I definitely remember propping up that wood in a window, man. I can remember putting a fan in a window, right? I know and be hoping that it rained, you know what I'm saying? So that fan can feel like an air conditioner. Say he is not coming out anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's coming out. He don't have a reason to. No point to tank is stupid. Yeah, I don't understand the whole tank talk. TJ, we are tankless over here. No tank here. Let's see. Think they could use Big Sim at G. I guess you're talking about Torricelli Simpkins the third. Yeah. For depth purposes regarding Penning. I mean, we probably got one. I'm gonna be real with you. Unless Cesar Ruiz has a monster year, I just think that the Saints after this season may need to consider possibly trading him, or I don't want to say cutting him, but trading him or something like that. Try to see if you can get some value, because it's getting to a point where it's like this dude is what he is. And if we're talking about getting the best version of an offensive line, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that when, with these guys being on this team. I just think that he's a solid, I'm talking Cesar Ruiz. He's a solid guard, but if you're talking about somebody that's going to be able to break through, I don't think that's it. I think that what Cesar Ruiz is right now is probably the best that he's going to be. He probably will be a little bit, he probably can get a little bit better, but I just think that he is what he is at this point. I don't think the Saints offensive line is going to reach its full potential until they address the interior. Trevor Penning, they trying to make that thing work. Eric McCoy, yeah, I mean, he's a steady guy, one of the best at his position. But when it comes to Cesar Ruiz, I don't think that you're going to get top-notch offensive line play ever. I just think that you might get some stability at that position. He's just a stable guy. But I just think that if you have to go into 2026, maybe looking at who is going to be the top guard coming out of college, because you're not going to fix your offensive line issues until you fix what's going on the interior. That's just me. Looking at a guy, but back to Torricelli Simpkins, I like what I saw out of him. I mean, if he can continue to build on what he did in game number 1, he can possibly make the 53-man roster. Because I mean, I haven't heard much from Landon Young. I mean, Dylan Radins. He played tackle in a game, which was a recipe for disaster. Maybe he's just one of those guys that does better with guard at the guard position. But, Torricelli Simpkins has a really good chance of making his roster, especially if he can build on that momentum. TJ, what's your prediction on the win-loss games or our record for the year, bro? I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know how this season is going to go. I just need to see this offense. I need to see this offense kind of come together. I mean, I don't buy into the Saints is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I just think that the bottom just would have to completely fall out for that to happen. They would have to have injuries and all type of other issues for that to happen. I don't think that they're going to be as bad as people think. I think they're going to be competitive, and I think they can be a tough out for a lot of teams, even if they're really good teams. Saints need to stop offensive linemen. When is it time for us to have our own Justin Jefferson or Chase, AJ? Saints need to draft skill position players. Well, look, they got to keep on drafting these offensive linemen because they keep on flaking on them. It's just the truth, man. You invested all this draft capital in these offensive linemen, and for the exception of maybe, I guess the exception of 3, and one of them not even a first round pick. Like, you trying to find places and hoping that they work. Like, to me, man, I just don't believe it. Like, I mean, that's something that I'm just not buying. Like, they're trying. Like, right now, when it comes to Trevor Penning, I feel like they're trying to justify the first round pick. They're trying to save face when it comes to him. And I do think that him being a guard is a good spot for him because he's a mauler. But I mean, Cesar Ruiz, to me, I don't think he's going to get any better, any worse than what he already is. I think that, he'll give you some stability. He'll probably play really well 1 week, maybe even 2 weeks in a row, and then he'll probably, have a stint 3 or 4 games where he looks terrible. And, I just don't think that you're going to get top-notch offensive line play until you address that. Like, how good on the offensive line do you want to be is my question. And if you still trying to save face and trying to validate first-round picks when clearly they're not going to give you that maximum return on investment, you're wasting your time. Forget Arch. I'd rather see Lenoris or Aller. Yeah, Lenoris Sellers or Drew Aller. Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to have really good seasons, but we'll see. TJ, if the Saints quarterbacks don't do good this year, do you think Kellen Moore will go after Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier in the next year's draft, or would let them ball out? Well, look, C-Money, I feel like it depends, right? It depends on how the season turns out. Now, if they just look awful, like just god awful, and it just like, man, okay, this thing just did not work out, then, I could see them maybe going after a quarterback. But if you're seeing promise from, any one of these quarterbacks, they've won some football games for you. They put up some big time games. They had some solid performances. I don't see the New Orleans Saints going after a quarterback. I think that it would have to take like things to just completely go south between these quarterbacks in order for them to do that. Because once again, I think sometimes the Saints' biggest issue that plagues the team is they care way too much about optics and how things are perceived, instead of them just saying, okay, man, this was not a good idea. We made a mistake. They rather sit up there and pretend sometimes like this was a good idea and, we messed up. Like, no, and it's not the player, but like most of the time it's just not a good look. Not a good look. And sometimes you just have to cut your losses. But I just think that the Saints sometimes they care too much about saving face. Like call a spade, sometimes. Like if it doesn't work out, then it didn't work out. Like the worst thing that you can do is try to continue to put a square peg into a round hole. Like you continue to push yourself further and further back from reaching your ultimate goal. So hopefully that's not the case. But I think it all depends on what the quarterbacks look like this season. Like if you see some promise, then they're not going to go after a quarterback. If you see them making mistakes, and the team just look awful, yeah, I think you have to address the quarterback position in 2026. If I'm mistaken, and I could be, Cesar Ruiz's natural position is center. I mean, yeah, he played center like when he was at Michigan, and he moved to guard, when he got to the NFL because Eric McCoy was just so good, at that position. So, but yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's been a guard since 2020. And, I'm pretty much seeing, very little progress when it comes to him. Like it's feast or famine. And I just don't think that if you're talking about trying to get a better version of the offensive line, I don't think he give you the consistency that you need at that position on a game by game basis. Like there'll be games where he looks solid, right? But then there'll be games where he just get whooped, and that's very concerning. That's very concerning because right now I'm just starting to feel like he is what he is. And like I said, he's not a terrible guard at all. I'm just saying the Saints right now, they need that offensive line to carry this football team. Like seriously, they need a Detroit Lions type offensive line. I'm talking about throwback Saints with John Stinchcomb and Jari Evans and Jonathan. They need offensive line like that, where guys are creating holes for these running backs to run through and giving these quarterbacks time. You don't need no offensive line where they just getting whooped, right? Over and over again. Like if you already have a young quarterback who's trying to figure it out and you got an offensive line trying to figure it out, now that would be a recipe for disaster. And that will indicate a very, very, very long season. Let's see. Scrolling down, it's time for Loomis to go. Oh, man. I mean, the guy ain't going nowhere. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, the guy isn't going anywhere. Like, I just think that, we yelling from the rooftops, they need to get rid of him. Mickey Loomis isn't going anywhere till Mickey Loomis decides that he wants to go somewhere. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So buckle up, folks. The year we drafted Ruiz, we should have drafted a guard if the thought process was to draft O-line in the first round. Me personally, I don't even feel like they should have drafted off a guard. They should have drafted Jordan Love. I mean, when we look at the grand scheme of things, Jordan Love, sitting behind Drew Brees for a couple of years like he did Aaron Rodgers, I think that you would have had yourself a better quarterback situation. And, throughout the years, I'm pretty sure you would have been able to draft, offensive linemen, and probably would have been in a better position offensively. But, I didn't agree with the whole Cesar Ruiz pick in the first place. I didn't understand it at first. At the time, I think they had Larry Warford on the team. And, he was a pretty steady offensive lineman. But, at least like if you was, thinking about considering, letting Larry Warford go, I mean, he could have gave you at least one more year. At least you would have had Jordan Love as your quarterback sitting on the bench waiting in the wings, Drew Brees. And then once Drew Brees retired, you would have had yourself some stability at the quarterback position. Because we know that, you need a quarterback in order for you to get to where you need to be. This season just going to be an experiment. Strap in, Who Dat Nation. I'll be watching Sunday's game in person. So excited. Feels like a regular season game. Yeah, I just think just because of all of the storyline surrounding his football team right now. Like, I don't think it's been like this in a very long time where you just don't know what's going to happen. And that generates excitement. Rams Saints practice few hours from now. Hope someone is streaming it. I don't know if they're going to stream it or not, but I'm pretty sure you'll probably have members of the media that put out videos, with the practice and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure we'll get that really, really soon. I'll scroll back up a little bit. Let's see. Preseason always vanilla. Kellen not showing it all right now. Kamara, Olave, Rashid, nobody played yet. Well, I think they'll probably get some snaps in this game right here. They'll probably have a series or two. They'll probably have a series or two on that. Says, well, TJ, he's the cause of all this. Why continuously go through all this pain don't make no sense. Well, it's because of his position. And like I said, the Saints I've said this in the past, the Saints are structured like a family-owned business, a mom-and-pop shop, right? I mean, he's just not going anywhere, man. That's just reality. Like, I can't see the Saints, like, upper management, Dennis Lauschen and Gail Benson firing Mickey Loomis. I just don't. Like, I don't see that happening. I think that if Mickey Loomis was to, like, stop being the Saints general manager, it would have to be on his own accord. It would be like a press conference where it says Mickey Loomis stepped down or something. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, the best case scenario is for the Saints to be able to rise above the decision sometime of a Mickey Loomis. Like, because you're going to have to win, despite some of the decision making. Because once again, he's not going anywhere. So I would just say, like, just hope that Kellen Moore and his staff can get the best out of these players that they have on his team. Saints need to go into the season with low expectations, TJ. Hard be let down when the expectations low. Well, the expectations are already low, Corey. But I don't think the Saints need to play that way. Like, I don't, man, these players don't feel the way that fans feel. Like, these guys aren't going to the season like, man, well, let's get ready to tank. Like, this is their job, man. Like, if they go out there, like, giving a lackluster effort, they go get cut, or they're gonna end up like somebody replacing them. Like, this is their job, man. Like, they don't see, like, the Saints players organization don't see things like how we see them, and I'm glad. Like, they shouldn't. Like, if the organization thought like fans, like, we really would be in trouble. Like, we really would be in trouble. That's like telling somebody, okay, man, you own this grocery store. Okay, nobody really was coming in here like that, so man, just go ahead and quit. Like, this that person's livelihood. So, like, they can't just close their doors. This is a business at the end of the day. So they shouldn't think like us. Like, we may look at it like, man, look at this player right here, man. He's not as good as a Justin Jefferson at the wide receiver position. He's not as good as a Derrick Henry at the running back position. But to them, man, these guys are trying to win every football game they possibly can. They're trying to take care of their families. They're trying to make sure that they're on the team next year. Like, when you start like losing football games, that's people's livelihoods, man. Like, people moving, have to uproot their families and stuff. Like, it's much bigger than just playing on Sundays. And these guys are never going to think the way that Saints fans do. Like, some of you may look at them, oh man, they ain't winning nothing, but they don't see themselves that way, and they shouldn't. She's the boss. She can fire him if she wanted to. I know I'm right about that. Yeah, she can fire him, but she probably don't feel like there's a need to fire him. Like I said, they don't think the way that we do, man. They don't think the way that we do. And honestly, like, and quite honestly, if they end up firing him from that position, he's still a vice president of the team. So who you think is going to be involved with the whole hiring process? Like, he's third in command of this football team. It's Gail Benson, it's Dennis Lauscher, and then it's Mickey Loomis. So where you think he's going to go? Oh yeah, let's stop him from being a general manager. But he's going to be responsible for hiring the next general manager? Because what you may not, like, you can talk about Gail Benson being on there, and she is, but when it comes to the higher ups, Mickey Loomis is the main one that understands football more so than any one of them. Like, Dennis Lauscher is more of the business guy, right? I mean, he's the one that's handling the business side of the New Orleans Saints. He doesn't know that much about X's and O's as much as Mickey Loomis does. So if you fire Mickey Loomis, who do you think is going to hire the next general manager? It's not as simple as like, oh man, he's like, get him up out of here. I mean, if we couldn't win with Breeze, we damn sure ain't winning without Breeze. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, the Saints won a lot of football games. I mean, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl every single year. You had some great quarterbacks who have put up some really big numbers, didn't win every single year. Like, they put up like a bunch of wins. They might have won the Super Bowl, may have won one, but that's probably the only one they got. Like Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron Rodgers put up some really good seasons, multiple MVPs, right? I mean, but the Green Bay Packers didn't go to the Super Bowl every single year. Brett Favre, he have a Super Bowl, but they didn't go to the Super Bowl every single year. So, things change. Like, you get yourself a quarterback, a guy that can give you stability on the offense side of football, get the ball into the hands of the playmakers, and you accompany him by a really good defense, running game. You can find yourself playing some championship football again. So I'm not going to say, oh man, when Drew Brees left, like, that just means that the organization, never get back to that point. They can. They just have to do their due diligence and hope that they hit on a quarterback. Gail Benson and Loomis have been complacent and lazy for the last few years since Brees retired. Well, I think that a lot of the Saints' limitations were masked by Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Drew Brees and Sean Payton were able to cover up a lot of the imperfections of this football team. But right now, I often use the term that now everybody realized that the emperor has on no clothes. Like, basically, like, you can't hide anymore. right? Everybody can see that you lack, right? You were able to kind of, hide in the shadows, so to speak, but now everybody sees that, maybe they're not as, I won't say as knowledgeable, but there was a lot of things that were going on, and happening that were positive because of those two individuals, Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And now they're trying to figure out life outside of that. That's why I say, like, they're going to have to find a coach that is going to be able to cover up some of their imperfections. Maybe Kellen Moore can be that guy. Kellen Moore's experience with taking good, solid players and getting the best out of them. I mean, we've seen him do that in Dallas. We've seen him do it with the Chargers. Seen him do it in Philadelphia. So maybe he can do it for the Saints. And maybe we can go back to not really caring that much about what Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson has to say. Because when it comes down to it, the only reason why we actually care about what they say is because the team is losing. Y'all need to cut Mickey some slack. He did everything we asked for. His biggest mistake was DA. Just look towards the future and see what happens. Yeah, I mean, look, I just think that people ask for a rebuild, they got it. And this, like I said, this goes back to the narrative, right? Everything has been stale for so long. We have fell into this vortex of what the Saints narrative is. Like, fire Mickey Loomis. There ain't gonna be nothing. Look at this quarterback. He ain't Drew Brees. Like, it's like everybody kind of fell into this mind frame. Like, and some are not having an open mind. Like, it's like, okay, the Saints are what they are. They're always gonna be this way. Things ain't gonna change. Like, I don't know why you want to live like that. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm not saying that there's not a possibility that could happen, but I don't know. I just don't think that pessimism is beneficial. Like, you might be complaining about absolutely nothing at the end of the day. As long as Loomis is alive, the Saints are screwed. It is what it is. We are who we thought we were. I don't know, man. I think that, if you find a good coach, that can be able to compensate for the things that they lack, you can probably get some winning football again. Fake mustache and crooked toupee. What are we talking about here? No mercy for Mickey. He's not on the winning page. We'll see. I'm who that for life, but I'm not in denial. Well, it's not about being in denial. I mean, you can't ask for change, get change, and get mad at the change. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. Like that's my whole thing. Like, I'm not telling people to live in this world where you can't see what is limited. Right? We know that the New Orleans Saints going into the 2025 season is going to be an uphill battle. But at the end of the day, it's like you ask for a change, you ask for a rebuild, and it's happening right in front of you. So why are we still sitting up here talking about, oh, man, that just ain't going to work out? Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't say, oh, man, the Saints have Dennis Allen as the head coach and Derek Carr as the quarterback. Oh, this ain't going to work out. We need a rebuild. Then when a rebuild happened, it's like, oh, man, this ain't going to work out. Like, what more do you want? Like, like, you can't be satisfied at the end of the day. So, it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Like I said, I mean, we got to be honest about this, man. Like, I'm not saying that the Saints criticism isn't warranted, but what I'm saying is, like, what more do you want? What more do you want? Like, what do you get by just complaining about something that you asked for? Like, you can't ask for something, then get it, and then talk about, it's not going to work. Like, you've been asking for it. So I just think that you need to have the patience to see it through. Do you feel people are overreacting and not having patience in the rebuild? Yeah, I mean, because people have, like I said, it goes back to what I was saying, Sean. People have fell into this world where it's just like, man, the Saints are what they are. So they close their eyes and they cover their ears, and no matter what improvements or things they try to add to the team to make it better, people not trying to hear to see it. No, some people are, but, some people are not. Like, it doesn't matter what the Saints do. Like, the Saints can go and get the best wide receiver that you ever seen. Like, people still like, oh, it still ain't going to work. Like, because they for the last 4 seasons, there's been very to little prosperity when it comes to the team. And that's been the narrative. And now people still rocking with it. I'll often say, the best thing about New Orleans, in my opinion, when it comes to the fans and the tradition and the culture, is we love our traditions and we love our culture. But sometimes, like, we can be blinded by our own traditions and culture. It's almost like we don't even realize, like, the world around us is changing because we so focused on the traditions and the values and culture that we had. But the world continues to move, things continue to change. But, we like where we are. So let's continue this narrative about how the New Orleans Saints can't change and nothing is going to happen. And we need to get this guy and we need to bring in an LSU player and like all these different things, but man, change is happening right in front of you. If you don't see that, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, it can be a good change. It can be a bad change. Who knows? But at least they changed. We're not going into the 2025 season with the same old song and dance, bringing back Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, no head coaching tale again. At least you know that things aren't going to be the same when it comes to that regard. And that's been what Saints fans have been complaining about, pounding the drum for change. So have the patience to see change be carried out. Michael Thomas, I think that ship is sailed. I think that ship is sailed, my friend. If our team are getting on the page with offensive line on the field on the regular season a few weeks away in September, TJ, they need to win this season. I don't care. We lose or tie. I'm tired of them losing. I think everybody's tired of them losing. But the offensive line has got to get their act together, man. Michael Thomas could have been a Hall of Famer, and what happened? Well, I mean, he had that ankle injury, man, and that just, like, stalled his career. Can't go at Mike and still ball out compared to what we got. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he can, but I don't know. I don't think the Saints going in that direction anymore. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think Michael Thomas is like 32 years old. And at this point, you bringing back Michael Thomas more so for nostalgia than, what he can do on the field. Like, you would, like, literally be bringing Michael Thomas back for the simple fact that he's a former Saint and he'll get Saints fans excited more so than what the Saints feel like could benefit them in the future. Like I said, this goes back to what I said at the top of this episode. I'm all for the New Orleans Saints trying to get younger. Them looking at a 25-year-old Justin Ross. Them, going after a 26-year-old Gabe Davis, bringing him in for a visit. Like, you need to be focused on the future. Like, if we're going to talk about the future, let's focus on the future. Michael Thomas would be a now type signing. Odell Beckham Jr. would be a now type signing. If we're talking 2029, 2030, are we going to be talking about these individuals being an integral part of the team? No. I think when we're starting talking about that, we're thinking about the possibilities of how that could affect us. Buying a Odell Beckham New Orleans Saints jersey. Oh, that would be cool. Bringing back Michael Thomas and flexing a muscle. Oh, that would be cool. But I'm talking about how would that benefit the New Orleans Saints in 2028, 2029, 2030? How? Like I said, I love Michael Thomas. Like, I really do, man. I think the dude is the one, like, he's got to be top 3 greatest New Orleans Saints wide receivers of all time in that short stint that he has still. But at the end of the day, that is not going to contribute to what the Saints need, which is stability and long-term success, cornerstone players. That's just what it is. We got to be careful with this. Like, we're thinking about it from a nostalgic standpoint. Some of these decisions and thoughts are based on nostalgia more so than helping a team win. And then once again, if Michael Thomas does have a monster year, or, he does contribute, is he going to be contributing down the line? Is he going to be contributing for the next 4 to 5 years? Absolutely not. Is Odell Beckham going to be contributing 4 to 5 years from now? Absolutely not. What the Saints need are young, hungry players that they have drafted that they can use right away, that can contribute in some capacity right away while they're trying to figure this thing out. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Just start Tyler and be done with it. They picked him damn near in the first round, and we are in the rebuilding stage. It will not hurt us. Well, it's looked like it's going to trend that way, because I said if Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck are basically neck and neck, and even if Spencer Rattler does a few things a little bit better than Tyler Shuck going into the regular season, the Saints may feel that way. It's going to be a Tyler Shuck show. Right now, it seems like it's trending towards Tyler Shuck. It seems like the pressures of the possibility of being the starter is getting to Spencer Rattler, and it's showing in some of these practices. Now, I'm not saying that this competition is over between the two. I mean, the three-man competition is clearly over. But when it comes to these two, Shuck and Rattler, it's going to come down to what the organization feels would put them in the best position to succeed. But right now, it just looked like Tyler Shuck is starting to gain momentum. And if he is neck and neck with a second-year guy who played in 6 games, started in 6 games, played in 7, and he's right there with him, they're going to take that as the ceiling is higher with Tyler Shuck, and he's going to end up starting over Spencer Rattler anyway. The cream is always going to rise to the top, folks. You're going to get the answers to your question sooner rather than later. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Loomis is biting the bullet on rebuilding, but he's making good moves so far. Young, successful head coach, 9 draft picks, good stuff. Yeah, I'm saying, like, everybody, like, don't fall into that trap where you like, okay, man, this is the narrative for the New Orleans Saints, so let me run with it. Like, I'm not saying not have some levels of skepticism. I want to make that very clear, because sometimes, like, when you're talking and people feel like you're trying to justify certain things, it's like, oh man, you taking a side. Like, everything is about sides now. I'm telling people to do things based on what is right in front of you right now, not what the narrative has been, but what are they showing you, right? I say this all the time. Like, if you're in a relationship, right, you're dating somebody, you have like a rough patch, and let's just say you on the brink of leaving, but you all decide, okay, man, we're going to put our best foot forward, and from this point on, we're going to try to make this relationship work. We're going to communicate better, et cetera, et cetera. If you continue to talk about the things that happened prior to what the conversation you had about trying to make your relationship better, it'll never grow. If we're still talking about what the Saints did with Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, then the team will never look a certain way, or they'll never satisfy you in the grand scheme of things, especially if you're not looking at some of the things that they were actually doing that are uncharacteristic of the team. We know that the New Orleans Saints like to trade up, move draft picks, etc. They use all 9 of their draft picks. That's something that's different. We thought the Saints may fall into the status quo, hiring Mike McCarthy or some old mainstay coach that probably flaked out at another organization somewhere, but they went out and got themselves a young head coach, the youngest head coach in the National Football League right now. So they're trying to do things different. And I just think that people need to give them the credit for trying to do things different. And that don't mean that you're taking sides. It just means that you're evaluating things based on changed behavior. Things will never progress if we're still looking at what things were instead of what things can be or what changes are taking place right in front of you. Don't close your eyes and cover your ears, folks. Like, don't be like, okay, this is how I feel about the Saints. You can't change my mind about it. I don't want to see this article over here. I don't care about what you're saying, TJ. I don't care what you're saying, Nick Underhill. I don't care what you're saying, Jay Scametta or Raw Jack. Like, this is what's going to happen to the Saints in 2025, and there's nothing you can do about it. there's nothing you can say to change my mind. Like, why are you watching football? Like, why? Look, to me, why go to the guillotine if you know it's about to chop your head off? Why stick your head inside of the hole if you know the guillotine is going to come down and chop your head off? If you already know how the story going to end, why the hell are you reading the book? I mean, what are we doing here? Like, if you know how the story is going to end, why are we reading the book? Sorry about that, the van too real, but those are the rules. Keep it clean in the chat and respect the host and be respectful. Yeah, man, we try to keep it as PG as we possibly can here, man. A lot of young kids watch this show, man. So we often say, man, you can expound and express yourself without having to use profanity, man. You know, that's just what it is, okay? It has nothing to do with anybody trying to treat you like a child, Vine. That's just the rules here, man. That's just the rule. We try to, like I said, man, I got 12, 13-year-old kids that watch this show. So we just try to keep it clean, man. It's not like, you trying to scold you or anything like that. So we just, want to make sure that, we try to just keep it clean. We can do a hell or something like that, but the big cuss words we try to avoid. Let's see, yo, Vine too real, calm down. Not in the chat right now. Hey man, y'all relax, man. Just relax. I understand like everybody just wants this team to do better. All right, but we ain't gonna be arguing in no chat, man. Given the current circumstances with Bub Means hurt, I would only bring 13 Thomas in for 1 or 2 year contract. Well, look, I would look, but like I said, what are you trying to do here? Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, what are we trying to do? Is my question. Like, what are we trying to? If you bring him for a 1 or 2 year contract, what are you trying to build on? Like I say, those are the type of questions you have to ask. Like, how is that instrumental towards your offense being better if you're basically signing a wide receiver that's only going to be there for a cup of coffee, another wide receiver that's only going to be there for a cup of coffee, because that's pretty much why you signed Brandon Cooks. Saints fans need to manage expectations. No more Thomas talk. That's like an ex-girlfriend that was problematic, but fine. Got to move on. Real Saints fans ain't sensitive. Y'all must be from Mississippi. Nah, bro. And, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that people can expound and express themselves without using profanity, unless, unless you can't do that, unless you can't do it, but no. Nah, we definitely not I'm definitely not from Mississippi, Jerry is from Mississippi, but I don't make him no less of a Saints fan than you, my friend. Why bring in Michael Thomas? I don't know. Like I said, it would just be for, it would be for, to me, nostalgia at this point. Thomas ain't played in how long, does absolutely nothing for their roster. I'm not saying he's going to do nothing for their roster like he won't contribute, but I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about rebuilding and looking towards the future, how does that benefit the future of this team? I'm not saying, like, if Michael Thomas was signed this year, like, he wouldn't, give you anything. What I'm saying is, like, how does that help you in the long term? Let me scroll up, but I think I'm pretty much caught up here. Let's see. There's no reason to bring in anyone that isn't going to be on the team long term. We're not a player or two away, and that's my whole point, Doc. If we like Michael Thomas away from winning a Super Bowl or something, like, sign him up. But we know that this is not an easy fix. We know that this is not an easy fix. So there's that. Like, something fell in my eye. Something. Keep on rubbing my eyes like it's a piece of man. Like you just something like a piece of dust fall in your eye, make you keep on wiping your eye, man. But anyway, man, look, I can't tell anybody how to think and feel, but I just know that looking at this team from what they were in the past, and not trying to embrace the future is just problematic, and that's something that you don't want to be. I mean, look at the team, analyze the team based on what they're showing you right now and adjust accordingly. Like, I feel like it's not going to be easy, folks. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you it's going to be easy. But what I can tell you is, like, if you see improvements, especially like from young players that are promising, I just say take that, man, and be excited about it. Like, if you see Giannis Sinker, making plays, and pass breakups, you see Quincy Riley catching interceptions. If you see Kristen Boyd, like, coming up the middle, getting sacks. If you see guys like Isaiah Stallberg playing sideline to sidelines, a young Danny Stutzman out there tackling everybody. Like, those are the type of things that should get you excited, because those are the players that have the possibility of being your cornerstone players when the DeMarios are no longer here, when the Cams are no longer here, when the AKs are no longer here. Like, you want them to be your cornerstone players, right? So when those guys are starting to make plays, like, you should get excited about that. So I just think that if you start to see improvement from some of these young players, I think that can be very, very optimistic about how the future can actually unfold. Like, it can be a very positive thing. You should be optimistic about what the season has to hold, or what it's going to show you. Shout out to the Map to Show, men and women, grown folk, only, no kids allowed. Let's see. I think this was one of the best draft classes for the Saints in a long time. Yeah, I see some players making some plays, man, and that's a very positive thing. The Saints went out and they got players that made a lot of plays in college and played in a lot of college football games. A young Isaiah Foskey dominating the edge. Nah, I can't see that, man. I think Isaiah Foskey days are indeed numbered, especially when you look at guys like Fadil Diggs, what they're doing, Isaiah Stallberg. Like, this man played about 40-some snaps and then record a statistic. That's not a good look, bro. That's not a good look. Vine, no hard feelings, man. I know us Saints fans get uptight and upset to make the Saints better. I get it. I was in your shoes as well, but I came out better. Yeah, man, I just think that's the biggest objective, man. Everybody just wants to see this team be better. NFC South Roundtable, what's going on, man? Appreciate y'all for being here. Shouts out to the NFC South Roundtable, man. I'm part of that panel right there. Have a really good time, man, every Tuesday. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. YouTube.com, search NFC South Roundtable. Make sure that y'all subscribe, all right? Signing Odell wouldn't be bad, but I don't think he wants to work with a rookie quarterback. Well, look, I mean, what are we signing him for? I'm not saying that's as a bad or a good thing, but what are we signing him for? To me, this is just my opinion. I just think that by signing Odell Beckham Jr., it's just the fact that people want nostalgia. The thought of Odell Beckham Jr. playing for the Saints. Oh my goodness, like that. Let me buy that Odell Beckham Saints jersey. Like, I'm looking at long-term success. Like, how can these players that get signed to the New Orleans Saints contribute to long-term success? If you have a guy who signs a one-year deal and he's the best player at that position, like, I don't know, man. Like, you're looking at a guy now, you're going to be paying a whole bunch of money to that probably is not going to give you that type of production for the next 4 to 5 years because they're in their 30s. Like, the Saints need to get younger. They need to build this team through the draft, and that's the way that they need to get themselves out of this hole. Not like nostalgia acts like Michael Thomas and Odell Beckham Jr. That's nostalgia right there. Like, and I'm over nostalgia. Like, I'm over that. Like, I'm over what a player once was and what they can actually be for a football team. Like, oh man, like when people talk about Keenan Allen, like Keenan Allen is a great wide receiver. But at the same time, Keenan Allen is 33 years old. How does that benefit the New Orleans Saints in 2028, 2029? I don't live for the I'm like I mentioned, I'm 39 years old. I'm just not living for the now. My mind now, these days, I'm thinking about what my life could be like when I'm 42 or 43 years old, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. I'm not like living in the now. Like that's not very responsible to me. You know, it's like getting paid and then, okay, I got these bills to pay, but I'm about to go to the mall and I'm about to just ball the heck out and neglect my bills. Like, eventually, like, the chick is going to come home to roost, folks, and you're going to have to address that. Eventually, the Saints are going to have to address this situation. And you want young guys that's going to be able to contribute to your football team. That is long-term success, folks. We are more than a player away. We need to see what we have. We don't know what we have yet. Yep, you don't until you play the games. Good point, Dietrich Ford. We need to rebuild on our team in this season at this moment. Tyler Shough going to get his opportunities and optimistic at this point before week 1 with the regular season kickoff TJ. Yeah. You know, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about some of these players. I just want to see what these players got. We keep calling out names and draft picks, but watch what happens. It's going to be an undrafted player that becomes a star like it always happens with us. Just watch. Well, if that's the case, then I'm okay with that too. But I can't see a world where Calvin Banks not going to be a really good offensive lineman. I just don't. I don't see a world and where I see Danny Stutzman not making some plays. I don't see that. I don't see it. I can see some of these young players making an impact and making some plays, man. I really do. You know, so I'm going to sit back and watch. And if they do have an undrafted guy that goes out there that makes plays, I'm okay with that too. That means that your front office and your scouting department knocked it out the park by selecting somebody that can be a difference maker. We know that they've done that. Like, we're relying on an undrafted guy and Rashid Shaheed to be an integral part of the offense. I mean, you know, Deontay, Harris, Hardy, you know, he was an integral part of the offense as a kick returner. You know, he was undrafted with the Saints. So, I mean, it's not like, you know, that's a bad thing. That just means that you're doing your due diligence when it comes to scouting. I'm just happy we don't have DA and Derek Carr anymore. I think a lot of people echo those sentiments. But my final thought is very simple. The Saints, if they were to sign a wide receiver, I would go after some of these younger wide receivers. Just before, let me see if I can actually type this in. Let's see, NFL free agents. Let's see who's available at the wide receiver position if the Saints were to go that route, who's available right now. I mean, we know about Gabe Davis, him being available, but let's see who is also available if the Saints were to go that route. Let me go ahead and I'll try to share this screen with you all so you can actually see what I'm seeing here. Let's see. All right, so let's take a look here. Okay, so we'll go to available. So some of the wide receivers that are available, as you all can see here, you got Amari Cooper, who's 31 years old. I mean, you could go after Amari Cooper, but once again, like, how many years is he going to give you? Like, 1 year deal. Gabe Davis, he's 26. Like I said, he's only been in the league for 5 years. That can be an addition. You have Brandon Powell that's out here. Jamison Crowder, like I said, 32 years old. Deontay Hardy, he's still available. You got Allen Robinson. He's a pretty talented guy, but he's going into his 11th season, 31. Like I said, not too many players that you can actually choose from. Lil Jordan Humphrey, who's with the Giants right now. Like, you guess you can bring him back. He's good for a play or two. But as you can see, there's not too many players that you can choose from that's going to help you. You probably going to have to rely on some of these guys that's on the team already. So at the end of the day, the New Orleans Saints are probably going to have to roll into the season with what they actually have. TJ, the obvious. I'll say go the young, cheaper route. There are some teams who seem to have some good wide receivers in camp, so they can't keep them all. Those are the wide receivers to target. And that's a good point. I often mention, you have these players that are making plays around the National Football League. And I know everybody is so focused on the Saints, and you should be. That's your favorite team. But you also want to take a look at some of these other preseason games. Like some of these other players, man, like they're not going to make these teams. So when you see them making plays and knowing that, it's probably going to be pretty hard for them to make a football team, that might be someone that the Saints could sign to their team. We see this all the time, where a player plays really well. The team in which they were with during the offseason process don't have a roster spot for them, and that's an opportunity for another team to pick them up. So, I mean, just because these free agents, right, that I just listed may not be as appealing, or, some of them are, but it might be another young player out there that just needs an opportunity that can be a contributor on your football team. But whatever the Saints do, I just think they have to go the young route. When it comes to Gabe Davis, I think that probably would be a good fit. I mean, when you think about it, because Gabe Davis can play for the cheap, because he still is under contract with the Jaguars, where he's going to receive, I want to say maybe like $10 million this season. So he's going to get $10 million from the Jaguars. So if he still wants to play, you could probably sign him for, a couple $1 million that's not, hurting your salary cap, and he can go out there and be a role player and contribute and be that big body receiver that you need. But whatever the Saints do, I just hope that they find a good core and a good combination of skilled players that the offense can be effective this season. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate it. Much love to each and every one of you. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, I ask that you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, check out the NFC South Roundtable every Tuesday at 8 p.m. YouTube.com, search NFC South Roundtable. I'm on so many podcasts and shows. I have to remember what I was saying. And also the State of the NFL podcast that's available right now. Subscribe to that channel as well. We talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the National Football League. And you can follow me on X at TJAYJones8 and follow the State of the NFL at State of the NFL. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat?